Good morning, students. Welcome to 7th Standard Social Science, Term 2, Civics, First Unit, State Government. So, children, listen carefully to this session. In case of any doubts, make a note of it, which shall be clarified on the day of reopening. So, now let's enter into today's topic. So, today's session is about the state government. So, this lesson starts with the conversation in a classroom between a teacher and the students based on the topic state government. Teacher announced that there will be a grand opening ceremony for the new school building and the chief guest is MLA. So, now the students got the doubt that who is an MLA and what are the role and responsibilities for him in the society. So, now the teacher started an explanation about the state government and the importance of government. So, children, this lesson is fully a conversation and I am going to explain about the main concepts. So, our Indian government has two sets. One is central government, another one is state government. So, our Indian government has two sets of government. One is the central government and the other one is the state government. And our constitution, our government is a federal system of government. Our Indian government is a federal system of government. That means the power is shared between the central government and the state government. So, federal system means the power is shared between the two sets. One is the central government and the other one is the state government. So, the central and the state work together for the welfare of the people. The central government is usually stronger than the state governments, but there are some powers the state have that the central government does not have. So, the central government is normally stronger than the state government. So, children, keep this in mind. The Indian government has two sets of government. One is the central government, another one is the state government. And our government is a federal system. That means the power is shared between the central government and the state government. And the central government is stronger than the state government. Then, the constitutional branches. The constitution is divided into three branches. First one is the legislative branch and second one is executive branch and third one is judicial branch. So, the constitutional branches are legislative, executive and judicial. Each one has a specific responsibilities. So, the three branches of our government, that is the legislature, executive and judiciary, has its own functions or responsibilities. So, for example, the legislature makes the law. So, the legislative branch makes the laws. The executive branch implements the laws and the judiciary branch interprets the law. So, the main role of legislature branch is making of laws, executive branch is implementing the laws, that is enforcing the laws in the society, and judiciary branch is interpreting the laws, that means maintaining the law and order in a society. So, these three organs are the main pillars of the government. So, the parliament, that is the central, has two houses, that is bicameral. One is Rajya Sabha, other one is Lok Sabha. So, at the central we have two houses, that is called bicameral. So, first is Rajya Sabha and second one is Lok Sabha. So, Rajya Sabha is also called upper house and Lok Sabha is also called lower house. And at the state level also we have two houses, that is called bicameral legislature. So, the two houses are Legislative Assembly, which is also called Vidhan Sabha, and second one is Legislative Council, which is also called Vidhan Parishad. So, Assembly comes under lower house, Legislative Council is upper house. So, at the state level we have two houses. One is Legislative Assembly, which is also called lower house or Vidhan Sabha. Another one is Legislative Council, which is also called Vidhan Parishad or upper house. In some states, there will be only one house, that is unicameral. So, uni means one, that is Legislative Assembly. So, the states which are unicameral legislature has only one house, that is Legislative Assembly. So it doesn't contain Legislative Council. And Tamil Nadu is a unicameral legislation. So Tamil Nadu follows the unicameral legislation, that is only one house, that is Legislative Assembly. So I hope you are clear with this. At the central level also we have two houses, that is called bicameral legislation. One is Rajya Sabha, other one is Lok Sabha. So Rajya Sabha is the upper house, Lok Sabha is the lower house. At the state level also we have two houses, bicameral legislation. One is Legislative Assembly, which is also called Vidhan Sabha or lower house. Other one is Legislative Council, which is also called Vidhan Parishad or upper house. Some states we have two houses. So at present 6 states follows bicameral legislation and the remaining follows unicameral legislation. So Tamil Nadu follows unicameral legislation, only one house, that is Legislative Assembly. So I hope you are clear with this. So Legislative Assembly is also called Vidhan Sabha, Legislative Council is also called Vidhan Parishad. So the members of Legislative Assembly are called MLA and the members of Legislative Council are called MP. So India is a parliamentary democratic republic where the President of India is the head of Indian Union and the Prime Minister and all the ministers are responsible for smooth running of the government. So this is called central government. So India is a parliamentary democratic country. So democratic means the government formed by the people. So it is for the people, by the people and of the people, where the President of India is considered as the first citizen. So President of India is considered as the first citizen, whereas the Prime Minister and all other ministers work under the President of India for the smooth running of government. So this is called central government. And India is a federal union comprising 28 states and 8 union territories. So federal government means, I have told before, federal means the powers will be shared between the central government and the state government. So India is a federal government. At present, we have 28 states and 8 union territories. So children, make a note of it. At present, we have 28 states and 8 union territories. So have you noticed this building in news? So this is the Fort St. George. So children, this building is Fort St. George and this is the first building built by the British. So the first fort built by the British is Fort St. George. It is the fort in Chennai, first English fortress in India. The fort currently houses the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly and Secretariat of Tamil Nadu. So this is the first fort built by the British. So English is British. So the first fort built by the British is Fort St. George and presently it is the Secretariat Office of Tamil Nadu. So it is the Legislative Assembly, Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly and Secretariat of Tamil Nadu. So all the legislative meetings will be held in this fort. Legislative Assembly as the lower house where all the MLAs meet to discuss various matters related to the welfare of the state. So as I told before, Legislative Assembly is the lower house whereas Legislative Council is the upper house. So the Legislative Assembly is the lower house where all the MLAs, so all the MLA means member of Legislative Assembly. So children, MLA means member of Legislative Assembly. So all the MLAs will meet in the Legislative Assembly meetings and they will discuss related to the welfare of the people. They will discuss the matters related to the welfare of the people. So they will discuss various matters related to the welfare of the people means, for example, if there is any water scarcity problem or drainage problem or any health issues. So we can also take the current pandemic situation, COVID-19. So they will discuss all the issues which the people are facing in the particular area and they will come to a conclusion. So this is called Legislative Assembly meetings. So all the states and union territories have separate governments to run its own administration. governor, chief minister and all the other ministers constitute the government. So all the each state and each union territory has its own separate government and administration, and the governor, chief minister and all other ministers constitute this government. So each and every state has its own administration. So now let's see how is an MLA elected. So children, we all know that MLA is not appointed. So he is elected by the people. So MLA is elected directly by the people. So let's see it. So before seeing that, first we have to know what are the eligibility criteria to become an MLA. So let's see the eligibility criteria for becoming an MLA. So the first criteria is he must be a citizen of India. So the first criteria is should be a citizen of India, and second one is the age must be greater than 25 years. So to nominate in an election, the age must be greater than 25 years. Should be mentally sound, should not be bankrupt, no criminal procedures, must not hold an office of profit. So should be mentally sound in the sense he should be very versatile in every field and should not be bankrupt. So should not be bankrupt means he should hold some amount in the account. So no criminal procedures. So no criminal procedures in the sense he should not have any criminal history, must not hold an office of profit. So he should not hold some other postings in the government sector. So these are all the qualifications to become an MLA. First one is must be a citizen of India, and the age must be greater than 25 years, must be mentally sound. That means he should be versatile in every field and should not be bankrupt, no criminal procedures, must not hold an office of profit. So these are all the qualifications to become an MLA. The political parties play a vital role in election. So children, in term 1 we have seen one lesson, that is political parties. So the political parties are the voluntary association formed for the welfare of the people. So the political parties play a vital role in the election. So to conduct an election, there must be a competitors. So the political parties play a vital role in the election. So now let's see the electoral process in India. So how the election is carried out in India. So let's see the process one by one. So the first step is filing of nomination. So first step is we have to file the nomination, and second one is analysis of nomination. So they will analyze whether the documents provided are correct, original. And the third one is campaigning for elections. Fourth is voting or polling day. Fifth one is vote counting or result declaration day. And sixth one is formation of ruling party. So this is the sixth process involved in the elections in India. So first one is filing, then analysis, then campaigning, then voting day, then vote counting and result declaration day, and formation of the ruling party. So let's see it in detail. So for better administration purpose, the whole country is divided into states. So children, for better administration purpose, the whole country is divided into states. And the state itself is divided into small regions. So the state itself is divided into small constituency. So these regions are called constituencies for better administration purpose. For example, let's take Tamil Nadu state. So let's take Tamil Nadu state for example. So the Tamil Nadu state is divided into small regions, that is wards. So the Tamil Nadu state is divided into small regions or wards, and these regions are called constituency. So for election, the entire state is divided into several constituencies on the basis of population. So on the basis of population, the state is divided into several constituencies. So in Tamil Nadu, we have 234 constituencies. So in Tamil Nadu, we have 234 constituencies. For example, let's take your classroom. So it's very difficult for a teacher to maintain, for example, the classroom strength is 40 means it is very difficult. So the teacher will appoint a class representative to maintain that. Similarly, it is very difficult to administer the whole state. So that's why the state is divided into small regions, and each region is represented by a leader. So that leader is called MLA. So let's take this example. So Tamil Nadu is divided into 234 constituencies. Then let's take two political parties. So one is political party A, another one is political party B. So these parties are competing, these parties are contesting in the elections. So what they will do is, the political party A will choose 234 leaders for each constituency. Similarly, the political party B also will choose 234 MLAs for each constituencies. So first one is filing the nomination papers. So the political parties will file their nominated candidates. And second one is analysis. So after filing, they will analyze whether the documents provided by the political parties are original. And next one is campaigning process. So children, this you would have seen, that is before election, the MLAs will come in the areas convincing the people why they need to vote for them. So they will convince the people and they will ask for votes. And they will tell their election manifesto, that is the promises which they will fulfill after coming into power. So this is campaigning process. And next is for the voting day. So on the day of voting, every candidate, every citizen of India who have completed the age of 18 can cast their vote. So that is voting day. So all the people residing in that constituency who has completed 18 years of age can cast their vote. So all the people who are staying in that particular area and has completed 18 years of age can go and cast their votes according to their wish. And then finally, election results announcement. So after the election counting, after the vote counting, the results will be declared. So we have taken two examples. One is political party A and political party B. And Tamil Nadu, we have totally 234 constituency. Suppose in the election results, the political party B gets 118 seats. So the MLAs of the political party B, they have won in 118 areas. So that is more than the half of 234. So I hope you are clear with this. It is more than the half of 234. So it is obviously the political party B wins the election. So they are the ruling party because they won more than the half of 234 constituencies. So the Election Commission of India conducts and monitors the election. After the election, the party which gets the more number of MLAs is declared as the majority party. So I hope you are clear with the definition of majority party. So the Election Commission of India only conducts the election. So after the election, if the party gets more number of elected candidates, that is more number of MLAs means, then it is declared as the majority party and that majority party will becomes the ruling party. So the governor calls the leader of the majority party. So the governor will call the leader of the majority party to form the state government. In simple words, a party whose MLAs has won more than half of the number of constituencies in the state are called the ruling party and that party forms the government. So I hope you are clear. The party which got the majority number of seats in the election is declared as the majority party or the ruling party and the members are appointed by the governor. So now the political party A will become the opposition party. So I hope you are clear. With our example, political party B wins the election. So the A will become the opposition party. And the party which gets the total number of seats next to the majority party acts as an opposition party in the legislature. But all the MLAs of other political parties who do not belong to the ruling parties are called opposition parties. So the parties which is next to the majority party is called opposition party. So now let's see. The President of India appoints the governor. So the governor is appointed by President of India. And the term of office for governor is 5 years. So the term of office for governor is 5 years. So children, make a note of it. Governor is appointed by the President of India. So now let's see some of the eligibility criteria to become a governor. So what are the qualifications needed to become a governor? So let's see it. So first one is should be a citizen of India. So the first criteria is the person must be the citizen of India. And second one is should have completed 35 years of age. So for MLA we have seen that should have completed 25 years of age. For a governor should have completed 35 years of age. Should have a sound mind. That means you should be versatile. You should be well knowledge person. Should not hold any public office of profit. So you should not hold any other business or any other government sector. You should not hold a posting in any other government sector. So these are all the qualifications to become a governor. First one is must be a citizen of India, more than 35 years of age, should have sound mind, that means knowledgeable person, and should not hold any public office of profit. He should not be working in any other government sector. So now let's see the functions of the governor. So what are the roles and responsibilities of the governor? Why a government need a governor? So the first function is the governor is an integral part of the state legislature. That means governor is the head of the state legislature. Governor is the head of the state executive and he has enormous power. So not only legislature but also he is the head of the state executive branch. All the administration is carried on his name. So all the policies or all the acts are approved by the governor. He is the chancellor of government universities in the state. So he is the chancellor of government universities in the state. Next one is all bills become law only after his assent. So only after the governor's approval the bills will be changed into laws. He appoints important officials of the state government such as Advocate General, Chairman and the members of the State Public Service Commission, State Election Commissioner, Vice Chancellor of the state universities. So he appoints these persons. So they appoint the General, Advocate General, Chairman of the State Public Service Commission as well as the State Election Commissioner. So all these postings are appointed by the governor. And then the governor in turn appoints the Chief Minister of the state. So the Chief Minister of the state is appointed by the governor and the Chief Minister in turn appoints his Council of Ministers. So the Chief Minister will select his own Council of Ministers. For example, a Minister for Health Department, a Minister for Agriculture. So the Chief Minister will select his own ministers. So now let's see the eligibility to become a Chief Minister. So what are the qualifications to become a Chief Minister? So the first qualification is should have completed 25 years of age. So he must complete 25 years of age and should be an MLA. So to become a Chief Minister, he should be an MLA first. In case of MLC, if he is a member of Legislative Council, he should have completed 30 years of age. So to become an MLC means Member of Legislative Council, must complete 30 years of age, but to become an MLA must complete 25 years of age. So now let's see what are the functions of a Chief Minister. So what are the roles and responsibilities of a Chief Minister in the society? So first one is the Chief Minister is the real executive head of the state administration. So the real head of the executive branch under the state level is Chief Minister. He allocates the portfolios among the ministers. The Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to the state legislature. So as I said before, the Chief Minister will appoint his own Council of Ministers. For example, he will appoint a minister for Health Department. He will appoint a minister for Agriculture Department. So like that, he allocates a own Council of Ministers. All the ministers works as a team under the Chief Minister. So all the minister will work as a team, but they are under the control of Chief Minister. And then the Chief Minister formulates programs and policies for the welfare of the people of the state. So the Chief Minister implement the policies or the acts mainly for the welfare of the people, mainly for the goodness of the people. The Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the Legislative Assembly of the state. So the ministers are responsible for the Legislative Assembly. So the ministers has to answer all the questions which are raised in the legislative meetings. So they are wholly responsible. So now let's move on to the judiciary of India. So let's see about the judiciary system of India. So the court hierarchy is, first one is Supreme Court or Apex Court. So the main court is Supreme Court, and then followed by High Court. So each state will have a High Court, and then each district will have a District Court. So I hope you are clear about the court hierarchies. The Supreme Court is only one. So Supreme Court is only one, and High Court will be one in every state. So High Court will be one in every state, and District Court will be one in every district. As per the Constitution, there shall be a High Court in each state. So as per our Indian Constitution, there will be a High Court in each state. The state High Court consists of a Chief Justice and other judges. The number of judges in the High Court is not uniform and fixed. So the High Court, the state High Court consists of Chief Justice and other judges, and the number of judges is not fixed. President appoints the Chief Justice and can hold the office until he completes the age of 62 years. So children, the Chief Justice is appointed by President. So make a note of it. Chief Justice is appointed by President, and the retirement age of the Chief Justice is 62 years. The retirement age is 62 years. Apart from High Court, there are District Courts and Tribunals. So apart from High Court, there will also have District Court and Tribunals such as local courts. They ensure justice to the people without any bias. So the main role of a judiciary branch is to ensure the justice without any bias. So without any partiality, whether they are rich or poor, they have to ensure justice. Apart from this, there are also family courts are established to settle the disputes relating to marriages and family affairs. So apart from this, there is also family courts, and they will settle the disputes. They will settle the problems in the families as well as marriage affairs. So the next one is Lok Adalat. The Lok Adalat means People's Court, also have been established by the Government of India to settle the dispute. So dispute means problems through the conciliation and compromise. So the People's Court is established by the Government of India to settle the problems by giving proper counseling or compromising the problems. So children, we have come to an end of this session. So you can refer the textbook pages. So page number from 163 to 167. So today's topic are covered from page number 163 to 167. So with this session, civics first unit, that is the state government, is completed. So you can try to answer all the book back questions with the help of this video. So now it's time for questions. I hope you are clear with today's session about the state government. So we have seen about the three branches: legislature, executive and judiciary branch. So I hope you are clear. So now it's time for questions. So let's see some evaluation questions. In case of any doubt, you can go through the whole session video once again, or else you can refer your textbook. First question, what is the minimum age for becoming a member of the State Legislative Council? The overall head of the government in the state is? Third question, MLA stands for? Fourth question, who are called oppositions? Fifth question, write a short note on Lok Adalat. So children, try to answer all these questions in the notebook which you are maintaining for social science. So try to answer all these. If you have any doubt, you can go to this video. So we have come to an end of this session. With this video, Civics first unit in term 2, that is state government, is completed. Thank you.